Hi guys, welcome to this very special video. We're talking GDPR today, and there is no better place to do that than at DMA House, the home of the Direct Marketing Association. We're going to go inside now and get this video done because, as you can see, it's a bit snowy out here and I'm very cold. So let's go chat GDPR. So here we are at the Direct Marketing Association in central London, and this is the definitive guide to GDPR. My name's Daniel Lack, I'm the head of digital at Growth Track, and together with our friends at DezRez, we're going to answer all those questions that are affecting your business and try and break down the elements of the GDPR that apply to you guys. With me today, Jenna Tiffany, founder of Let's Talk Strategy and a fellow DMA Email Marketing Council member like myself, but also chair of the Email Marketing Best Practice Hub. Jenna, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. Thanks for coming down. And ready to get into this? We'll break the GDPR down and tell these guys what it does for them and how it applies.
Yeah, exactly. Let's do it. Let's go.
Fantastic. A lot of people out there in the world of business, let alone estates and lettings agents, believe that this whole GDPR thing is centered around sending people emails and their email lists. And it isn't. It's actually nothing to do with emails apart from a small crossover on e-privacy. This is about how they're collecting data, how they're using the data, and does the customer know that they're using the data in that way?
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point because there has been a huge focus on email marketing and a lot of scaremongering that you're going to need to delete all of your email marketing lists. And yes, that is true if you don't have the correct consent, but there are still laws in place today, so e-privacy, the PACA law as well, that exists today, that a number of marketers have broken in preparation of getting ready for the GDPR incorrectly so. But yeah, the whole point of the GDPR is to build trust, to enforce security and protect consumers' data. It's not about protecting email marketing or ruining the channel or anything like that, or taking email marketing away from businesses. It's actually to make that trust exchange clearer between the customer and the brand. Exactly,
and I think that as we go through this, we're going to talk a few points so that you understand that it's not all about consent. There are customer relationships that stand in terms of contact, so it's not time to panic and throw data away. It's just to understand what data you can hold, what data you can use, and when you can use it. Let's focus on estate lettings agents, their business activities, and how these new GDPR legislations are going to affect those guys. Specifically, there's an awful lot of scaremongering out there. Agents phone us every day. Oh, the GDPR, I've got to do my list, and I've got to send out this email to re-permission people, and I've got to throw all this data away, and I can't lose my entire business. And this is scaremongering. So I think what we need to kind of understand is the kind of activities that an agent's doing, such as property matching, such as the information they're gathering in order to do that, a budget, an area, a number of bedrooms. I think what agents need to understand is actually this is a service, and this is where the service that they're providing the customer starts. And at that point, they become a customer. And at that point, that is the reason to contact and have the data.
Yeah, I think the scaremongering, the €20 million fine, the 4% annual turnover, of the risk of fines, of course the risks are real. And using those figures, obviously get the headline, they get the click, they get the view on the video, they get the comment.
Of course.
And that has been one of the key focuses, and it's something that's talked about more than anything as part of the GDPR. But that's a result of not doing it correctly, whereas actually a lot of organisations, like you're saying, are in fear that they're not going to do it correctly at the risk of getting those fines. So I think really what you need to think about is if you have a customer who's given you data and they've said to you, I'm looking for properties in this particular area, and they have consented to signing up to your newsletter, and they want you to send those properties that are based on that location that they've given you, they've provided their email address, then of course you're okay to send that because that's what the customer's asked for. But if you start selling them a different service, you start selling them something about shoes that they've never asked for you for, then that's when you don't have consent to send that, and that's where you're abusing that data and that trust that that customer's given you by providing that data to you.
And that's actually where consent does come into play, because you're coming out of that customer relationship and now you need consent to send them shoes. And that's the difference, isn't it?
Yeah.
The customer relationship, as far as we understand it, as far as our interpretation, is that this isn't GDPR, this is e-privacy. And this is a customer relationship being present, it being the relevant customer relationship, and it being within a relevant time frame. So not from 5 years ago, but a current customer relationship. And with that relationship in place, you can contact your customers, you can send them what they want to send. You don't need them to tick a consent box. This is within the realm of an existing current customer relationship. When you talk about shoes, then they would have need to have signed up some sort of granular consent, which we'll talk about later, to say, oh, and by the way, I love shoes, tick. And that's a different thing.
Yeah, exactly. The key point about all of this is to have the evidence. So if you have the evidence, you have an existing relationship with a customer, then of course you can document that. Having evidence of your data handling policy, process, is really, really key. And probably a lot of organisations don't currently have that documented. And that doesn't need to be something really complicated. It can be one page of A4. If we receive customer data, this is what we do with it. This is how we use it. This is how long we keep it for, and the reasons why you keep it for that period of time. I think the other thing to touch on is that there's a lot of fear that people are holding data for too long. Now, if you're holding data for 10 years, yes, that may be too long. And however long that is for each organisation is very different, but the key piece is being able to have evidence as to why you're keeping that data. So if a customer comes to you, they're looking for property, they then buy that property, do you then need to keep that data for providing support, for providing additional services that they've asked for? Or actually, has that need for that data now eradicated and expired? Therefore, then you need to delete that data. But it's not a case of just pressing delete on everything because GDPR is coming in.